Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're plunging into a topic that's, well, not just relevant, but absolutely critical as AI systems become more and more ingrained in our daily lives and our industries too. We're talking about AI incidents. What happens when these incredibly complex, often autonomous systems run into problems, or worse, come under direct attack? Think of AI systems almost like highly specialized interconnected organisms, or maybe intricate, sophisticated machinery that learns and adapts on the fly. When things go wrong, the impact isn't just a glitch on a screen. It can be significant, unpredictable, and sometimes, frankly, quite alarming. It can cascade through real-world operations. So our focus today is squarely on AI operations, and we're specifically zeroing in on Chapter 2, Part G, Incident Response Management Specific to AI. This comes from the AAIA Advanced in AI Audit Official Review Manual, but this is just theory. We're going to ground this with a really fascinating hypothetical case study that feels incredibly real, drawn directly from our source material. Our mission for you, our listener, is to equip you with a structured understanding of how to manage incidents involving AI, and maybe even more importantly, how to think critically about the truly unique challenges these incidents present. It's about being well-informed. Not just about what AI can do, but what happens when it doesn't do what it's supposed to, and how we effectively respond to that.
That's precisely it. And, while traditional incident response frameworks are pretty well established, think about responding to a standard data breach or maybe a server outage. AI just introduces entirely new layers of complexity and urgency, often, and sometimes just plain novelty, things we haven't seen before. For anyone who works with or audits or even just interacts with AI systems, understanding how to manage incidents is quickly becoming indispensable, really non-negotiable. It's definitely no longer just a concern for specialized security teams. It deeply affects governance, operational resilience, even the core of business continuity. This IDASIT manual, which is our primary source today, it provides a robust framework. It does this by adapting existing recognized standards like ISO/IEC 2703-1, but it meticulously tailors them to the unique nuances of artificial intelligence. It's really a pragmatic guide for navigating what are often uncharted waters.
Okay, let's unpack this then. When we talk about AI incident response, it's not just a fancy new label for old problems, is it? The source material really highlights this adaptation of the ISO/IEC 27035-1 standard. Now, this standard, for those maybe not familiar, it's a widely recognized foundation outlining a 5-phase process: prepare, identify and report, assess, respond, and finally post-incident review. But my curiosity immediately jumps to the why. Why can't we just use the existing IT incident response frameworks that, we've honed for decades? What are these new layers of complexity that make AI incidents so profoundly different? Why do they demand their own specific management approach?
That's a crucial question, yeah, and it gets right to the heart of it. The uniqueness of AI incidents stems from their very nature. Unlike traditional incidents, which might involve, say, a server going down or a database being breached, AI incidents can be far more subtle, sometimes quite insidious. We're talking about things like gradual model degradation, where performance just slowly declines over time, maybe unnoticed for a while, or unexpected probabilistic outputs that might not be immediately obvious failures, but could have profound operational or safety implications down the line. It could even involve autonomous agents behaving unexpectedly, which, as we'll see later in the case study, can have real-world physical consequences. Think a factory robot going rogue. Now, the manual explicitly states that AI incidents can still involve familiar issues like data breach or corruption, DOS or service degradation or system compromise. That stuff still happens. But crucially, it adds that these can occur in a conversational environment, for example, which dramatically broadens the attack surface of AI. Think about a chatbot. Seems harmless enough, right? But if it's compromised, it could leak sensitive user data or maybe be manipulated to spread misinformation. The source also notes that AI-specific incidents are, quote, relatively new, and their impacts are beginning to be seen worldwide. Now, this isn't just a passing observation. It implies that the threat landscape is still rapidly evolving, and our remediation playbooks, while they're significantly less established compared to traditional IT security, we're kind of writing the rule book, in a sense, as we go, in real time. This lack of mature, established solutions means a proactive, highly adaptable, and genuinely unique approach is absolutely crucial. And the why it matters here is, well, profound. Understanding how to adapt the existing ISO 20035 framework is key. Because AI's probabilistic nature and its often complex, opaque internal workings, what we commonly call the black box problem, they make traditional detection and response methods just insufficient. Imagine an AI system making a series of incorrect decisions, maybe in medical diagnosis or perhaps financial trading. With traditional software, you'd trace a line of code, right? Pinpoint the bug, fix it, done. But with probabilistic AI, that same input might sometimes give you correct results, sometimes incorrect ones. It makes it incredibly hard to isolate why it failed at that specific moment. It's like trying to debug a system that sometimes works differently based on unseen, non-deterministic factors. It's really tricky. You can't just check a log file and immediately know why an AI made a certain decision or suddenly started behaving erratically. This fundamental shift in how AI operates means our incident response paradigms have to shift too. They need to extend far beyond just technical failures to encompass broader operational, ethical, and safety considerations.
Right, that distinction between deterministic, predictable failures and these probabilistic ones is absolutely key. So before any AI system even goes live, there's this critical foundational layer that can really make or break your response when things inevitably go sideways. Genuine preparation. Which brings us neatly to the prepare phase. Phase one, what does preparing for an AI incident specifically entail? Especially when, as you just pointed out, some of these incidents are quite novel and the threats are still emerging. What constitutes the necessary foundation for AI incident response in this new landscape?
Yeah, the prepare phase for AI incident response is absolutely about building a robust foundation. It's not just about having a plan on a shelf somewhere. It's about establishing the actual capabilities to effectively detect and respond when something goes wrong. And this involves several critical components. First, you need specific AI solution performance and detection metrics. Unlike traditional systems where performance might simply mean, say, uptime or throughput, for AI, you need to monitor things like the model's accuracy over time, its reliability in different scenarios, and crucially, its consistency. Are the decisions it's making still within the expected parameters? Deviations in these metrics can be early warning signs, sometimes of an active incident, sometimes just subtle degradation that could lead to bigger problems if you don't catch it. Second, the source really emphasizes the importance of observability tools. And these aren't just your standard network monitoring tools, not at all. They are specifically designed to, well, peer into the internal workings and outputs of AI models. This means having visibility into the data flow feeding the model, maybe the model's intermediate computations if possible, its final outputs, and critically, how users are interacting with it. It's about attempting to illuminate that black box as much as possible, giving you granular insight, hopefully, into the AI's decision-making process. And third, and this is truly fascinating, in an age of increasing automation, the manual highlights the crucial role of human in the loop, HTTL. While we often think of AI as automating tasks away from humans, human judgment is still profoundly vital for detection and initial assessment. Automated systems can generate alerts, sure, maybe thousands of them, but humans are often needed to make those objective decisions about unusual activity that an automated system might miss or perhaps misinterpret.
Context is key then.
Exactly. For example, an AI might detect an anomaly in production speed in a factory, but a human can discern if it's a genuine incident, like say, a prompt injection attack, or maybe just a false positive due to a scheduled, unusual, but non-malicious event. That requires context.
That sounds like a really powerful combination of technology and, well, human intuition and oversight. But you mentioned earlier that, and I quote, attacks on AI are harder to detect than traditional data security incidents. That's quite a statement. Given all this preparation, why are AI attacks still so elusive? And what makes this malicious data injection so problematic across the entire AI pipeline?
It's true, the challenge is significant, even with preparation. Why? Well, it's largely due to AI's inherent complexity. Also, the often subtle nature of adversarial attacks designed specifically to fool AI. And you also have the continuous learning processes that can actually obscure malicious activity within a system that's constantly evolving anyway. It's hard to spot the bad change among all the other changes. For instance, malicious data can be injected either directly or indirectly at many stages of the AI pipeline. That's key. It could happen during initial data collection or data preparation, all the way through to model training, validation, and even during deployment when the model is live. This distributed, often opaque attack surface makes detection incredibly difficult. It's kind of like trying to find a single corrupted ingredient in a continuously flowing river that's constantly being used to bake new bread. It's really hard to trace back. The manual provides specific AI-specific attack detection techniques, and it's definitely worth diving into a few to truly grasp the nuances here. Let's consider prompt injection first. This attack involves crafting malicious inputs, or prompts, specifically designed to manipulate a language model's behavior. The goal is to lead it to unintended outputs or actions. Imagine a customer support chatbot suddenly starting to generate offensive content, or maybe in a more severe scenario, revealing sensitive internal company information, all because someone fed it a cleverly designed malicious prompt that bypassed its normal safeguards. The detection technique here, according to the source, involves robust processing to evaluate and sanitize data input into language models to prevent attacks.
So like filtering the inputs.
Exactly, but it's more than just simple filtering. It means implementing strong input validation, maybe using filtering mechanisms that scan for unusual patterns or keywords, and having systems that can understand how certain prompt structures might elicit abnormal or dangerous responses. It's not just about blocking bad words, it's about anticipating the creative ways attackers might try to essentially talk the AI into misbehaving. Okay, then we have data poisoning. This is different. Here, an attacker corrupts the training data itself. This causes the AI model to learn incorrect, biased, or even malicious behaviors right from the start. This is incredibly insidious because the flaw isn't in the model's code per se, but in the very knowledge it acquired during training. If a model is trained on poisoned data, it could lead to systemic failures. Things like misclassifying critical data, or in a manufacturing context like our case study, learning flawed safety parameters that could have real-world physical consequences. Detection techniques for this include things like monitoring data access and change logs to systems in data supply chain, basically watching who touches the data. Also, validating inputs at various stages of the data pipeline and performing rigorous reviews of dataset versioning and hashes.
So tracking changes and ensuring integrity.
Precisely. It's all about ensuring the integrity of the data throughout the entire AI lifecycle, verifying that the very food the AI consumes is clean and trustworthy before it even begins to learn. It's a monumental task, especially with massive, continuously updated data sets. And finally, let's touch on adversarial inference. This is a particularly sneaky attack, where an attacker subtly manipulates input data to trick the AI model. They want it to misclassify something or produce incorrect outputs, often without the input changing noticeably to a human observer.
Like those examples you see online. A tiny sticker on a stop sign makes the AI think it's something else.
Exactly like that. Think of a self-driving car misidentifying a stop sign as a speed limit sign due to some minor, intentionally added visual noise, maybe just a few pixels changed that humans can't even perceive. The detection techniques for this involve analyzing things like application programming interface, API call logs, and scanning for anomalous patterns that could indicate systematic adversarial training. But scanning API logs for anomalous patterns isn't as simple as it sounds. Adversarial attacks are designed to be subtle. They look like normal inputs. So we're talking about looking for minute statistical deviations, perhaps a slightly altered distribution of query types coming from one source, or an unusual sequence of interactions that individually might look benign but collectively suggest a pattern of someone trying to probe or manipulate the model. This often requires highly specialized AI monitoring tools that themselves need to be resistant to adversarial attacks, ironically, and which often use AI to detect other AI's subtle misbehaviors. It's a constant evolving arms race.
Wow, that's a truly detailed explanation of the prepare phase. It makes it crystal clear this isn't just about having checklists filed away somewhere. It's about deep technical and operational readiness, real capabilities. So once you're prepared with all these tools and techniques, the next step is actually spotting the problem phase 2, identify and report, unquote. This seems like the moment the alarm bell finally rings, right? Where all that preparation hopefully pays off. What's crucial here for AI systems specifically, especially thinking about the speed and clarity of identification needed, and maybe touch on the unique challenges of AI system logs compared to traditional application logs in this phase. What makes them different?
You've absolutely hit on the core element, timeliness. Speed is everything here. The source explicitly emphasizes that prompt identification and reporting of incidents is crucial. The faster an AI incident is detected generally, the less damage it can cause. This is especially critical with autonomous or self-learning systems that can rapidly propagate errors or malicious outputs across a network, or even, terrifyingly, into the physical world. Just imagine an AI financial trading system that starts making bad trades because of some subtle manipulation. Every second of delay could mean millions in losses.
Or like the Vincent Motors scenario we'll get to.
Yeah.
Physical damage.
Exactly. An AI controlling an assembly line could cause massive physical damage in mere minutes if it goes rogue. So, key activities in this identify and report phase include continuous oversight of the AI models. This means constantly monitoring their behavior, their outputs, their performance metrics, looking for any anomalies or deviations from expected norms. It involves analyzing all the logs generated by the AI system, its training data interactions, and user interactions too, scrutinizing them for suspicious patterns or errors that might indicate an incident. But, as you alluded to, this isn't just about looking at a single log file like you might for a web server. AI systems often generate logs at various layers, from data ingestion to model inference steps to output generation, user feedback loops. It's complex. Correlating these disparate logs to pinpoint the exact moment of an incident, or maybe more challenging, to distinguish a benign anomaly from a malicious one in a constantly evolving system, that's a monumental forensic challenge. It really requires specialized AI-native SIME tools, security information, and event management tools designed for AI.
Because traditional logs just tell you what happened, not necessarily why the AI decided something.
Precisely. Traditional logs might tell you a server crashed. AI logs need to try and tell you why the model made a specific, perhaps harmful decision at a point in time. That's a much harder question. And this is where those specialized observability and detection tools we discussed back in the prepare phase really come into play. They're the primary means of initial detection. However, even with sophisticated automation, there's still a critical human element. How do you prevent human operators from suffering alert fatigue when an AI monitoring system might flag thousands of potential anomalies daily, most of which are probably benign? It requires really sophisticated interfaces, things that visualize AI behavior effectively, maybe highlight key decision factors for the AI, even provide counterfactuals like what if the input was slightly different, so humans can truly grasp the why behind an AI's unusual activity. Only then can they make those objective decisions about unusual activity that the manual talks about. Beyond detection itself, establishing clear reporting channels is absolutely paramount. It's not enough to just spot an anomaly in isolation. That anomaly, once verified as potentially serious, must be quickly and clearly escalated to the relevant incident response team and any other stakeholders. Timely communication is key, ensuring that everyone who needs to know is informed immediately, from technical teams to legal, compliance, maybe even public relations, depending on the severity and nature of the incident. For you, the listener, this phase is really where that theoretical preparation meets the messy reality of real-world events. It's about having the right eyes and ears on the system, whether those are automated monitoring systems or vigilant human operators. And crucially, having a clear practice pathway to raise the alarm effectively when needed.
Okay, so the alarm is rung, you've identified something potentially amiss. Now you have to figure out just how bad it actually is. Phase 3, assess. This is all about understanding the impact and the severity, right? But given the unique complexities of AI we've been discussing, are there specific or unique questions you need to ask when an AI system is involved in an incident? Questions you might not ask for a traditional IT incident. And how do these specific questions help us maintain what the source calls the integrity and confidentiality of AI model and solution data?
Absolutely. The assess phase, while it shares similarities with conventional IT security incident techniques, its focus for AI shifts critically. It really hones in on maintaining the integrity and confidentiality of AI model and solution data. Why is this so important? Because a compromised model or corrupted data doesn't just mean lost data, it can undermine the very trust in the AI's outputs. It can lead to systemic failures that go way beyond simple data loss. The credibility and the very utility of the AI itself are fundamentally at stake. It's not just about securing the system infrastructure, it's about securing the knowledge, the decision-making capabilities, the intelligence of the AI. And the manual provides a really crucial list of questions to guide this phase. These questions truly demonstrate the depth of inquiry required for AI incidents. They aren't just technical questions, they encompass operational effectiveness, potential harm, and the unknowns. First, a key question is, what data was exfiltrated or is still happening? This highlights the risks of data leakage, which is crucial for AI given its reliance on vast, often sensitive data sets. And unlike a static database, AI systems are constantly processing and interacting with data. So understanding the real-time flow of information, and if that flow has been maliciously diverted, is key. Think about things like model inversion attacks, where an attacker might be able to infer sensitive information about the training data just by querying the model's outputs repeatedly. That's a subtle but potent form of data exfiltration unique to AI.
Wow, so they're not stealing the database, they're kind of tricking the AI into revealing secrets from its training.
Potentially, yes, it's a known risk. Second question, what AI functions stopped or are still happening? This directly focuses on the operational impact, the functionality of the AI itself. Is the AI still making decisions? Are they correct decisions? Is it partially degraded, maybe giving weird answers, or is it completely offline? For an autonomous system like the one at Vincent Motors, this determines the immediate operational disruption and, critically, the potential danger it might still pose if it's still running but malfunctioning. You know, a recommendation engine that's partially degraded might just offer you poor moody suggestions. Annoying, but maybe not critical. But a quality control AI on a production line that's partially degraded could be letting faulty, even dangerous products through. Very different impact. Third, who is impacted and what harm resulted continues. This question broadens the scope significantly beyond just the system impact. It delves into the operational, financial, maybe reputational, and even physical harm. Did the AI's misbehavior lead to financial loss for customers? Or, in an industrial context like Vincent Motors, did it cause physical damage to property? Did it put human operators at risk? This is where the real-world consequences of AI failures become tangible, and where an auditor or the incident response team must assess the full scope of the fallout. Fourth, what happened? Specific details of the incident. This is about drilling down into the root cause and the precise sequence of events related to the AI's anomalous behavior. Was it a specific malicious prompt that got through? Was it a corrupted data input that poisoned the learning? Was it a change in the environment that the AI misinterpreted badly? You need granular forensic details to understand the true nature of the incident and trace its origins within the AI's complex processing chain. Fifth, what AI systems and data were impacted? This pinpoints the exact scope of compromise within the entire AI infrastructure. Was it just one specific model that went haywire, a particular training dataset that got corrupted, or did the issue spread across the entire AI pipeline, maybe affecting multiple interconnected systems? Understanding the blast radius is absolutely vital for effective containment later on and for ensuring the malicious activity hasn't spread horizontally through your AI ecosystem. Sixth, what remediations were initiated? This reviews any immediate containment or mitigation efforts taken during the identify phase, maybe even before full assessment. Were they effective in halting the immediate threat? Did they inadvertently cause other problems or unforeseen side effects for the AI system? This helps in refining those immediate response protocols for the future. And finally, and this is so important for AI, what is unknown and what needs to be known to return to a safe operational state. This question explicitly acknowledges the unknown unknowns that often arise from AI's complexity and its probabilistic nature. We might not understand everything immediately. It emphasizes the need for comprehensive understanding before attempting full recovery. You can't just flip a switch and assume everything is fine. You need to be reasonably sure the underlying issues are fully understood to prevent recurrence and ensure the AI is truly trustworthy again. This assessment phase is fundamentally about gathering comprehensive intelligence, not just for fixing the immediate problem, but for understanding the complex interplay between data, algorithms, and real-world outcomes.
That's a truly forensic approach, isn't it? Really digging deep to understand an AI incident. Okay, so this is where the rubber meets the road. Phase 4, respond. It's about taking action to actually address the incident. Now, you mentioned earlier that AI's complexity makes this phase particularly challenging. How do we actually contain, eradicate, and recover from an AI incident? Especially when these systems are so dynamic, so interconnected, potentially learning from their own mistakes, or worse, from malicious inputs. I'm really curious about the practical steps here and why they're generally harder for AI than for traditional systems.
Indeed, this is the action phase, respond, and it's where the unique challenges of AI often become most apparent in practice. The manual points out something important. Conventional strategies to eradicate, contain, and recover are still relevant to an AI incident. So the basic ideas still apply. However, it continues, these strategies can be significantly less effective for AI solutions because of the complexity and probabilistic nature of AI. This means we usually need more specialized, more adaptive approaches, and often quite a bit of human ingenuity to counteract the AI's own adaptive, sometimes unpredictable capabilities. Let's break down the 3 subphases within Respond: containment, eradication, and recovery. Subphase 4.1, containment, limiting the damage. The objective here is pretty straightforward: reduce the immediate impact and prevent the incident from spreading further. Stop the bleeding, essentially. For AI, this involves understanding the nature of the AI's memory and its learning capability. This is key. The source distinguishes between AI models with, say, static memory, like many chatbots that are typically limited memory, and basically forget past interactions after a session ends, versus those with dynamic memory. Dynamic memory describes AI that continuously learns and changes its internal state based on new inputs. Think of systems that adapt over time. Containment is generally much more complex for dynamic memory AI because malicious changes can become deeply embedded and even self-propagating. They can effectively rewrite the AI's internal rules or knowledge.
So if it learns from bad data, it keeps learning the wrong thing.
Exactly. If a learning algorithm starts incorporating poison data, it can teach itself the wrong lessons repeatedly, making the problem worse over time. Strategies for containment often include isolating the affected AI functions, maybe taking that part of the system offline, deploying immediate action plans like predefined scripts, and, as the source highlights, a crucial role for human intervention. This means a human operator might need to manually step in, disconnect the system, or override the AI to stop its rogue behavior, just like happened in the Vincent Motors case study where they disabled the operator dashboard to stop more prompts getting in. It's about putting a hard stop to the AI's ability to self-propagate harm. Looking at specific techniques from the Manual for Containment, referencing Figure 2.13 for prompt injection. The technique recommended is to deploy data input and output validation in prompt templates to ask, screen, and sanitize abusive prompts. Quote, "The insight here is that this shields the AI model from direct malicious attacks by controlling the interaction points more tightly."
Like putting up a strong filter at the AI's front door.
Pretty much. A smart filter. Rigorously checking everything that tries to enter or leave, maybe analyzing the intent behind the input, not just its syntax. This helps prevent the AI from being misled by cleverly crafted instructions. For data poisoning, the technique involves reviewing access to data systems involved in the data pipeline, and also using versioning control for data sets and executing data pre-processing functions as needed to clean things up. This is all about preventing further corruption of data and ensuring that the model isn't being fed more bad information during the incident. It's about securing the food supply for the AI, making sure that what it learns from going forward is clean and trustworthy. This could mean isolating suspect data feeds immediately or rolling back to known good versions of training datasets if possible, and for adversarial inference. Since these attacks often leverage validated, legitimate data input channels like APIs or user interfaces, the technique includes additional data input throttling, validation and sanitization of input, and quarantining infected attacks. Maybe identifying and blocking traffic from a suspected attacker source. The insight is that this ensures that even if an attacker tries to trick the AI with subtle inputs, the system has mechanisms to detect suspicious patterns and block those attempts. It's about making the AI smarter and more resilient against deceptive signals that might seem benign to a human. This could involve slowing down the rate of input from suspicious sources or adding additional layers of scrutiny to unusual patterns of interaction before letting them affect the model.
Okay, so containment is about putting up those firewalls and filters, sometimes literally pulling the plug on certain parts. But that's just stopping the immediate bleeding, right? How do we actually remove the source of the problem? Especially when, as you said, the AI's own learned behaviors might be the problem, and those are constantly changing. That's the eradication phase, isn't it? Getting rid of the root cause.
Exactly. Eradication is about removing the root cause. And for AI, it's definitely more complex because, as the manual notes, eradication is more challenging due to AI solutions changing credentials, or more broadly, it's changing internal state and learned behaviors. This means malicious elements might be deeply embedded or maybe constantly evolving within the AI's learning process itself, making them harder to pinpoint and remove entirely. It's often not just deleting a malicious file, it might mean undoing learned behaviors, which is much harder. It's like trying to make someone unlearn something they were taught incorrectly. So, specific techniques for eradication, referencing Figure 2.14 in the source, for prompt injection. The technique states that ideally, the underlying AI model needs to be retrained or fine-tuned to resist prompt injections. This is the ideal long-term solution, aiming to make the model inherently resistant to that type of manipulation. However, it realistically notes that retraining for large language models may be impractical. Think about the huge models out there. Retraining them is massively expensive and time-consuming. So, instead, prompt templates offer an effective temp solution for LLMs.
So templates guide the input more strictly.
Right. The insight is that while full retraining is best, it's often not feasible quickly. So temporary fixes like robust prompt templates can be rapidly deployed to sanitize inputs before they ever reach the core model, acting as a strong ongoing defense. For data poisoning, the technique is much clearer here. Poisoned data needs to be isolated and removed from the training dataset. There's no shortcut. This involves identifying malicious inputs through validation, going back through the data logs, and then, crucially, retraining on new, clean data. The insight is that this is absolutely crucial for the AI's long-term health and trustworthiness. A model trained on a poisoned dataset will always produce flawed or biased results in some way. It requires a deep clean of the very foundation of the AI's knowledge. Often this means a full rollback to a trusted dataset version and then rebuilding the model's intelligence from the ground up, carefully verifying each step. And for adversarial inference, the technique suggested is to apply regularization techniques to make AI models more resilient to inference attacks. Regularization is a set of methods used during training to prevent overfitting, but some techniques can also make models less sensitive to small input perturbations, which helps against adversarial attacks. It also suggests disclosing if sanitization remediation are effective, being transparent about whether the fix worked. The insight here is that this is about making the model inherently more robust to subtle manipulations through adjustments during the training or fine-tuning process. It's like improving the model's internal immune system so it can better recognize and reject deceptive inputs, even those that appear benign to the human eye. It's a proactive measure to fundamentally alter the AI's sensitivity.
That's fascinating. Especially the challenge of retraining massive models, it really highlights how deeply embedded these attacks or issues can become. So, once you've hopefully stopped the damage with containment and removed the threat through eradication, the final step in this action phase is recovery. It's about getting the AI system back to normal operations. But what does normal even mean for an AI system that's just experienced a complex attack or failure? And why is it so much more than just hitting a restart button and hoping for the best?
You're right. Defining normal for an AI post-incident is a really complex state to achieve and verify. The final objective of recovery is, technically, to return the AI solution to a safe and operational state. But this phase is absolutely not just about getting the system back online quickly. It's about ensuring the threat is fully eradicated and evaluated. This means verifying that the fixes implemented during eradication have actually worked, that the model is performing as expected according to its baseline metrics, and crucially, that no residual threats remain, perhaps lurking in subtle ways that could reemerge later. You don't want the problem coming back. Optimal resolution, according to the source, includes preventing re-exposure to the same vulnerabilities. This means hardening the system based on the lessons learned from the incident, patching the holes. It also means actively monitoring for residual threats that might linger or reemerge, potentially in new forms the attackers might try next. Continuous vigilance. And finally, it's about continuously improving AI models. This continuous improvement isn't just about patching a specific vulnerability found during the incident. It might involve evolving the model's architecture itself, perhaps by incorporating new robustness techniques learned from the incident. Or maybe by fundamentally reevaluating the trust boundaries and security controls within your entire AI supply chain. Where does your data come from? Who trains your models? It's really a testament to the dynamic nature of AI that recovery is never truly done in the traditional sense of flipping a switch. It's an ongoing process of validation, hardening, and monitoring. For you, the listener, the key takeaway here is that recovery for AI isn't just a simple restart button. It's a careful, iterative process of validation and hardening, ensuring the system is not only operational, but also demonstrably more resilient for the future.
That's a really comprehensive breakdown of the respond phase. It certainly highlights the intricate dance between human intervention, technical fixes, and AI's complex dynamic nature. Makes sense. Okay, the final phase in this whole life cycle is post-incident review, phase 5. Once the digital fires are out, the system is back online, hopefully stable. It might feel like the crisis is over. Time to breathe a sigh of relief. But for AI, it sounds like that's just the beginning of the real work. Because if we don't learn from what just happened, we're almost guaranteed to repeat it, right? Especially with these novel threats. What's the main goal here for AI incidents, and why is this idea of continuous improvement so absolutely vital in this rapidly evolving AI landscape? How does this review differ from, say, a traditional IT incident review?
You've nailed it. The post-incident review phase for AI incidents is, in many ways, the most critical for building long-term resilience. It's where the learning happens. Its primary goal is explicitly to analyze lessons learned to improve future incident response. That's the core purpose. And for AI, where threats and vulnerabilities are still emerging almost daily, and the technology itself is constantly evolving at breakneck speed, this feedback loop is absolutely non-negotiable. Without it, you're essentially flying blind to the next incident, hoping for the best, which is not a strategy. Unlike traditional IT incidents where you might fix a known vulnerability in a specific piece of software and, maybe be done with it for a while, AI systems are fundamentally dynamic. Their environment changes, the data they process changes constantly, and even the models themselves change over time through retraining or fine-tuning. This means that an incident response framework developed meticulously last year might not be fully adequate for today's AI systems or tomorrow's unforeseen threats. Therefore, the source stresses that continuous improvement is key. And this isn't just about tweaking a process document slightly. It's about fundamentally adapting your entire incident response strategy, your tools, your metrics, your team skills, your playbooks as your AI capabilities mature and as the threat landscape inevitably shifts. It's an iterative cycle. Learn, adapt, reinforce, repeat. And this review often differs from traditional reviews in its scope and depth. It has to. It must consider not just the technical aspects of the breach or malfunction, like how did an attacker get through the firewall, but also the unique ways AI interacts with its data and its environment. For example, a traditional incident review might ask how a data breach occurred. An AI incident review needs to go further. It should ask questions like, did the AI's internal workings, its own decision-making process, contribute to the breach in a novel way? Like, did it misunderstand something and reveal data?
Exactly. Or did the AI itself, perhaps through unintended data exposure during its own learning phase, inadvertently facilitate the attack, making it easier for the attacker? It's about understanding the unique ways AI behaves, the unique ways it fails, and the unique ways it can be exploited. This might involve deep dives into model interpretability, trying to examine why the AI made a certain decision under duress, or figuring out how its probabilistic nature made root cause tracing so difficult during the assessment phase. What could make that easier next time? Without a robust and continuous post-incident review phase, organizations really risk repeating the same mistakes, leaving their AI systems vulnerable to known exploits. Or, maybe even worse, failing to adapt to entirely new classes of threats that only manifest as AI capabilities expand further. It's about building institutional knowledge and resilience over time, ensuring that each incident, no matter how minor it might seem, becomes a valuable learning opportunity to build more secure, more trustworthy AI environments. It's the ultimate feedback loop for survival, really, in the AI era. That's a truly comprehensive look at the entire AI incident response lifecycle. Wow. From preparing for the unknown through the detailed phases of response and ending with that vital post-incident learning. It really lays out the necessary framework. But, as powerful as frameworks are, sometimes the best way to really understand them is to see them in action, even hypothetically. All right, so you've heard the structured approach, the 5 phases, the unique AI challenges involved in each. Now let's try and bring it all to life with a case study. We're looking at the Vincent Motors scenario from Chapter 2 of our source material. This is where we can see how these principles might play out in a real-world, albeit hypothetical, situation. Okay, so the scenario is this. Vincent Motors, an automobile manufacturing plant, experienced an AI system security breach. It was on its assembly line. The AI system apparently went rogue. It started increasing production speed while ignoring safety guidelines. And it actually damaged property as a result, physical damage. The IT manager quite rightly activated an incident response plan. That's a pretty vivid scenario, isn't it? What really struck me when reading about this case was just how quickly a subtle manipulation, presumably the prompt injection, could cascade into actual physical damage. It's not just data at risk here, it's tangible assets and potentially human safety. That really brings home why these seemingly abstract incident response frameworks are absolutely vital in practice. So let's walk through the questions posed in the source material about this case. Let's try and think like auditors ourselves, applying what we've just learned through the 5 phases.
Yeah, this is an excellent way to solidify our understanding. Seeing how the theoretical framework applies, or should apply, in a tangible, albeit stressful scenario like Vincent Motors. Let's tackle that first question they posed. Case study question 1, describing the AI-related attack. Okay, the question is, which of the following describes the AI-related attack in this situation? And the options given are model theft, prompt injection, data leakage, and model overfitting. Right. So based on the scenario description, the AI system going rogue, increasing speed, ignoring safety, all because of some input and the definitions we just spent time discussing. The correct answer here is clearly prompt injection. The source's rationale lines up perfectly. The root cause of this incident is prompt injection. Prompt injection occurs when an attacker manipulates Gen AI model to affect an AI model's behavior. So in this case, it continues, the attacker sent prompts to increase production speed while ignoring safety guidelines. This directly aligns with the description of prompt injection we covered way back in the prepare phase discussions, where malicious inputs manipulate the AI's behavior, essentially giving it rogue commands. And it's useful to quickly look at why the other options are incorrect. It helps reinforce our understanding of these different AI attack vectors. Model theft would involve directly accessing and stealing the AI model itself, its code, its parameters. That's not what happened here. The model was manipulated while running, not stolen. Data leakage is about unauthorized access or exfiltration of sensitive data. Again, that doesn't fit the description of the AI system going rogue on the assembly line due to speed manipulation commands. And model overfitting, Well, that's a training data issue, right?
Yeah.
Where the model learns the training data too well but performs poorly on new, unseen data, it's a performance problem leading to poor generalization, not a security breach caused by direct manipulative commands like this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, prompt injection is the clear fit for an attack that directly commands or tricks the AI into taking unintended harmful actions.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. The immediate manipulation of the AI's behavior through crafted commands, that's the dead giveaway for prompt injection here. All right, so they identify the attack type. Moving on to the next critical step in the response, identifying the cause after the initial chaos is somewhat contained.
Right. Case study question 2, identifying the cause post-incident. The question states, once the incident was confirmed, the incident response team was able to isolate the AI model and disable the operator dashboard to ensure no further prompts could be entered into the system. Good containment step. Which of the following actions, it asks, would best help the team identify the cause of the prompt injection? The options are A, reviewing logs of AI prompts and interactions with the system. B, sampling training data to identify faulty data. C, checking the production line for malfeasance in the equipment. And D, checking the overall equipment. Okay, here, the correct answer and the most direct way to find the cause of the prompt injection is A, reviewing logs of AI prompts and interactions with the system. The source's rationale explains this perfectly, and it really reinforces our earlier discussion on the identify and report and assess phases. It says, reviewing logs of AI prompts and interactions with the system would provide insight into where the prompt injection was initiated and identify any faulty or lacking controls in the AI system. This really highlights the importance of having granular forensic data available, specifically those detailed interaction logs of the AI. That's where you trace the cause of the prompt injection, finding the malicious command at the precise point of interaction with the AI model. It's about following those digital breadcrumbs of the bad command. And let's quickly consider why the other options are less effective for identifying the cause of this specific attack. B, sampling training data. Well, that would be highly relevant for a data poisoning attack, wouldn't it? Where the core issue is in the training data itself. But not necessarily for a prompt injection where the malicious input happened at runtime after training. C, checking the production line for malfeasance in the equipment. Or D, checking the overall equipment. That might be part of the physical damage assessment or maybe the recovery efforts later on at Vincent Motors. You'd need to check the robots. But those actions wouldn't directly help identify how the prompt injection occurred digitally or where it originated within the AI system's interaction layer.
Right, checking the robot tells you it broke, not why the AI told it to break.
Exactly. This reinforces that while traditional physical checks are important, AI incidents demand specific diagnostic approaches tailored to how AI systems are designed, how they learn, and how they're interacted with. You need to look at the digital trail first for this kind of attack.
That's a crucial distinction. It's all about understanding the specific nature of the AI attack and targeting your investigation accordingly. Makes sense. Now, after the crisis is contained and hopefully understood, it's time for the audit. To try to prevent future incidents, this moves us effectively into the spirit of the post-incident review phase, right? Learning the lessons.
Precisely. Case study question 3. Recommended audit areas. The question asks, following the incident, the IT manager requests an audit of the AI solution to ensure future incidents do not occur. What are some areas the auditor should recommend for this audit? Now, the options provided in the question itself are a bit simplified in the prompt. Data management procedures, bias and fairness considerations, overview of large language models, and coding practices. But importantly, the source's full answer key indicates that really all of these, and actually several more specific areas, are recommended. This immediately tells you that a proper AI audit, especially after a serious incident like the one at Vincent Motors, has to be incredibly comprehensive. It needs to look at the full life cycle and various dimensions of the AI system, from its underlying data to its algorithms to its operational context to its human interaction points. It's a big job. Let's elaborate on the specific audit areas recommended by the source's answer key, drawing direct links back to the Vincent Motors prompt injection incident. First, access controls. The source explicitly recommends to audit proper controls in place to ensure that principle of least privilege policies are in place to prevent unauthorized access. This is absolutely critical for preventing malicious inputs like the prompt injection that happened. If an attacker, or maybe even an authorized but careless user, didn't have the proper access rights to issue those rogue prompts to the operator dashboard, the incident might have been avoided entirely. An audit would examine who had access to control the AI and whether those access rights were appropriately limited and monitored. Second, data management. The manual suggests asking a critical question during the audit. Does the training set include enough information to ensure safety guidelines cannot be exceeded? Now, this links directly to data quality and integrity, and how the AI learns its foundational parameters and constraints. Even for a prompt injection attack, the underlying training data influences how the model behaves and interprets commands, including safety limits. If the model was trained with insufficient examples of safety guidelines, or on data that subtly encourages prioritizing speed over safety, it could potentially be more susceptible to malicious prompts that attempt to override those safety protocols. This is about making sure the AI's core understanding of safety learned from data is robust and unambiguous. Third, human rights, safety, and impact. The source explicitly asks the auditor to consider, is the model making decisions that consider the safety and impact of decisions on humans? This is a crucial ethical and operational consideration, especially when AI influences physical outcomes, as it did dramatically in the Vincent Motors plant where property was damaged and safety guidelines were ignored. An audit would need to explore if the AI's design, its training data, or its operational parameters could lead to outcomes that result in operational harm, financial loss, or, most importantly, put human operators or others at risk. This ties directly into the physical damage and the disregard for safety seen in the incident. Fourth, training, human training, that is. The source recommends auditing if operators and floor staff are properly trained on the use of AI and how to ensure the security of the AI solution. The human element in managing and operating AI systems remains vital, even with advanced automation. Human operators often serve as the first line of defense in noticing anomalies, or perhaps the last line of control in overriding a malfunctioning system. Lack of proper training could mean they miss crucial warning signs, like unusual behavior from the AI before it escalates. Or they might inadvertently contribute to an incident by not understanding secure operational procedures for interacting with the AI dashboard, for example. And finally, models prompt standardization. This one directly addresses the type of attack experienced at Vincent Motors. The source asks the auditor, does the organization use standardization techniques, such as prompt techniques, templates, input validation, to mitigate against prompt injections? This focuses squarely on hardening the AI model itself, or at least its interaction layer, against the very attack vector that caused the incident. This means looking critically at how prompts are structured, how they are validated before processing, and how the AI's outputs are monitored to ensure they can't be easily abused by malicious inputs. It's about building technical resilience directly into the interaction layer of the AI system. So the broader implication of this question and its comprehensive answer in the source is that AI audits must be incredibly holistic. They can't just focus on one thing. They need to touch upon technical aspects like access controls and model architecture, operational procedures like data management and human training, and critical real-world impact considerations like safety and ethics. This holistic approach is absolutely essential to ensure overall system integrity, prevent recurrence of incidents, and ultimately build genuine, justifiable trust in AI solutions, especially when they operate in critical environments like manufacturing.
Wow, that Vincent Motors case really does bring everything we've talked about, the phases, the challenges, the specific techniques, into such sharp focus. From preparing for these unknown unknowns through the precise steps of response like containment and eradication, and then into that vital post-incident learning and auditing, it reveals just how interconnected technology, human action, and robust processes truly are when it comes to managing AI effectively. And understanding these frameworks, as we've seen, isn't just for auditors or specialized AI teams anymore. It's becoming crucial for anyone interacting with AI, anyone relying on its outputs, to help build that necessary trust and resilience in these powerful, yet sometimes still unpredictable systems.
Absolutely. And if we connect this back to the bigger picture, the Vincent Motors case study vividly illustrates a key point. The future of AI isn't just about the excitement of innovation and what new things it can do. It's equally, perhaps even more importantly, about resilience and robust governance, especially figuring out what to do when things inevitably go wrong. The specific incidents we face with AI may be new, sometimes incredibly subtle, sometimes with dramatic physical consequences like we saw hypothetically here. But the core principles of careful preparation, swift, informed action, and continuous, honest learning remain foundational for managing the inherent risks. And this whole discussion, especially the case study, raises a really important question for all of us moving forward. As AI systems become even more autonomous, more complex, maybe even more opaque, how will organizations successfully balance that undeniable need for rapid deployment and innovation, the pressure to get AI out there, with the critical imperative for comprehensive, constantly evolving incident response frameworks? What role will human oversight, human judgment, continue to play as AI capabilities expand, maybe even exceed human capabilities in certain areas, especially when we face those truly unforeseen incident scenarios, the ones that challenge our current understanding of how these intelligent systems might fail in novel ways? It's something to think about. I really encourage you, our listener, to continue exploring how to build more secure and trustworthy AI environments within your own contexts. Because the incidents, unfortunately, are coming. And preparedness, combined with an agile, well-rehearsed response, is truly our best defense in navigating this complex future.